out to show my main screen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. I have been made presenter.
I made you the presenter.
Show my screen.
Okay, so
All right.
yeah, we see your Photoshop.
Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so this is the one that I'm going to be critiquing. This is Ryan Sutherland. He's the Australian, if I'm not
Yeah, what
mistaken.
time is it?
Right?
What time is it in Australia right now?
Well, it's got to be,
It's like tomorrow.
yeah, probably.
Time warp. Right?
So beautiful illustration, and I love the concept of this. I love the idea. It's always a great idea to again have a secret thing or somebody who's just discovering something. It's always a great moment in a story. This kid moves next door. Obviously, our main character that's down here is going to have a better summer for it. So it's always nice to get to have that element of surprise.
Can you zoom in on that, Lee,
Oh, sure.
so we can see it a little more? Because it's a beautiful. There's so many good things about this one.
How's that? Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Is it showing up okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of great stuff going on here. I love the darkened edges, and it keeps the light on our main characters. So a ton of stuff going on here. That said, there's a lot that we can do to enhance this overall idea. So dealing just with story, not the artistic elements like composition stuff, which I'll go into in a second. The idea is really straightforward, and it's a great moment, like I said, for a kid to find out that he's going to have a great new neighbor. The first thing that I would ask, though, myself, if I did this as a storyboard image, is what can I start to do to make this an unexpected image, to make people want to look at it. Remember, when you're submitting your stuff to art directors, you have to separate yourself from the crowd. And so what does that mean? And also the concept of the actual illustration is, if I'm not mistaken, it was a big surprise. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I had that somewhere. Yeah, big surprise for the summer. So I feel that with that said, there's a little bit left on the table here because you got basically an energetic kid who moved next door who's blowing some bubbles, which you see kids do a lot. In other words, it's a very expected solution. So I would start to say, what can I add? I mean, you got this great U-Haul truck back here. You got boxes in the car. So what could you add to this story that would be an unexpected big surprise that the viewer might not be anticipating? And then all of a sudden, that's going to generate interest. Any ideas, Will or Jake? I mean, you could have like a tentacle coming out of here.
Right.
It changes. I look around for like really standardized images, and then I think, what little element can I add that changes the whole feel of the image?
Okay, so I have an idea. So and typically the better images lend themselves to more and more ideas, you know. So that's a good thing. I think with Martin looking right at her, straight across, right over the fence, and with her kind of assuming that she is kind of playing with the bubbles and not seeing him, either she doesn't care and then there's not going to be a love affair, right? Or she's too stupid to know, you know what I mean? Like, or you know, she obviously should be able to see him right there. I would have him peeking through a hole in the fence or something.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is go high with this fence line. Obviously, we'd have to move her back, and then he's peeking through the hole. Make this bigger. You know,
that way she doesn't know that she's being spied on. If you think of like, what was that Suburbia movie, right? And the tension that was built in that movie was the fact that the girl next door didn't really see the guy, but then she did, and when she did, it was like, uh-oh, she caught me peeking at her, you know?
Yeah.
So this tension.
Exactly. So you put him behind the fence, and all of a sudden, now again, we're starting to it's more of a secret kind of thing, and again, she may not know about it yet, and so same thing I was saying before on Jake's is that the audience is given something that a character in the scene isn't aware of.
Right.
So, but the big thing is, I mean, always stepping back and saying, has this image been done before, and what can I bring to it? I mean, even if it's ridiculous, like the tentacles coming out of the truck, I want to have that idea, even if I'm going to throw it away and say, no, that's way too much for this story. This is going to be a realistic story. It's going to be a little bit more subtle. You you start thinking about anything like maybe this is their dad or something, and they're starting to blow up a huge inflatable castle that's like way bigger than the normal ones you see at a birthday party. That would be something that a kid would just freak out for. And it would up that emotion. And then we can start doing what Jake was doing, where okay, it's a big castle next door. Okay, so which vantage point is going to be best? Are we going to want to look up at it? So, or maybe we don't even see this kid. If it was a huge castle, we actually wouldn't have to be looking down, which would support this kid looking through the fence. We could actually be looking up, and then our main character's like swinging on it or sliding down it. You make some big ridiculous slide, and people are going to be interested in it, much more so than Bubbles.
What about a coffin on top of the car?
That's always good. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Okay.
What did you address the bubbles? I forget.
Not yet. So going into so that's just dealing with the storytelling. Is how can you up the emotional impact? That's always the big question. Now artistically, like I said, I like the palette. I'm a big fan of muted palettes. But there's a few things that are disturbing. First thing I always go to is composition. If I go up here, I'll just pick up big garish color. Everything happens on this line, and look at this. It's right down the center. We've got equal spacing on both sides. So what it's done is basically made this whole area over here completely inert. There's nothing adding to the story over here, or helping with the composition. So it needs to do one of those two things. And the same thing here. We do have this important element here, but the main story is happening right along this line. And so I would say, there's too much surgery I'd have to do to start moving that stuff around right now. But dealing with your different compositions. Let me clear that.
I want to just say that I think that your strong point, Ryan, is that you came up with a good concept, and you have really good drawing and rendering skills that are definitely you're definitely on your way up, but you're displaying a lot of really good things. So with all this being said, we're not saying there's nothing here redeemed. We're saying there's tons of really good stuff, but it takes a little bit of manipulation to make it that much better.
Oh yeah, like I said, this is just a starting point. Every illustration goes through this. Almost every one that I do goes through this process. So if anybody feels beat up, hopefully you guys aren't. I do this with mine. I could do it with Will's. I could do it with Jake's. It's just goes with the territory. There's a ton. This is a fantastic image. There's so much that we could do here. So I would suggest maybe do 20 ideas of what the emotional element is in some unexpected kind of thing, and see what you get. You'd be surprised at where you go.
Yep.
So the composition, I would probably go ahead and just, if you're struggling with composition or haven't done too much things with, I don't know why it's doing that. Just go ahead and make the rule of thirds, and then you can have, I'd say the kid down here, looking this way, and then put our main character over here. Here's our big bouncy house, whatever, and you could put the kid on a slide here, and then at least we have some kind of area to cross, and it gives us a reason to look across the screen. Typically, people when they look at an image, they will read it from left to right. Strangely enough, even though it's an image, we're just used to that with text. And so a lot of times in books, I have things going from right to left, and try not to violate that too much. But you never want to have it going down the center or just hanging off on the side. You want to have some kind of relationship that moves people across the page. The next thing that I would say for the media and the technique you chose, and like Will said, it's beautiful. The rendering is really nice. Everything feels consistent in the world, except the balloons. They seem like they're photoshopped in from photographs. I'm not sure. Let me ask Ryan. I could probably see it.
Either that, or it's just a really good technique, but it's not consistent with the rest of the painting.
Yeah, it just stands out. It's real clear where everywhere else has a little bit of haze to it. And this is a way, by the way, if you guys are still struggling with style and trying to figure out if something fits, I write down the words. And so if we were to write down the words, we have a softness to the rest of this, and there's a little bit of haze to it. It's a little bit murky, which is really nice. It's got a nice environment to it. And then if you look at these, crystal clear. So they just jump right out of the page. So if you haven't explored your style yet, try to think about it, what that style would be in words, and see if things fit. See if you can add those same words to each thing you're adding.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is I'm not sure where they're coming from.
She's holding.
Right.
Well,
She's
there's a
holding
doll there.
She's holding a doll, and I just don't understand why the bubbles. So
Yeah, like where they're coming from. I don't know.
maybe he was blowing bubbles and he followed them over the fence, and that's when he saw her. But that's really me like having to deeply analyze it.
Here's the unexpected thing. It's the dog that's blowing the bubbles.
Oh,
Yeah.
There we go.
look at that.
But
Sure
it's
enough.
it's so small that it's hard to
Yeah.
see, and that's that kind of creates a problem. But I think
Yeah.
I think
That
we
could be something though. I mean, at least that would be like a secondary little thing that people would be like, okay, there's something different going on there. So I don't know.
yeah.
That's all the things I would do. But like I said, I would explore this idea, this composition and this idea more, because I think you could have a really nice portfolio piece out of this if you can up the emotional impact a little more.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Lee.
Sure.
Okay. So
All right, is it me again?
yeah, it's you again, Jake.
Where are we? Show my screen. Here we go.
Yeah. There we go.
So,
And this one is from.
Dan Travis. We looked at this one earlier, and we all really liked it once we got it. And so for me, it took me a little while because I didn't quite understand. I thought this woman was in her pajamas. I just didn't get it. And then once Will said, no, those are military fatigues, that's when I was like, oh, click, it works. I get the whole conceit for the drawing. So that right there was the sticking point for me. It was just legibility of what we're looking at. And I think what needs to happen is you need to make her outfit a little more military, right? And so typically, I think what it might be is to move these bags over so we could see the full combat boot, and maybe have the pants like tucked into the combat boots.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's very iconic and traditional. Maybe she still has on like her combat hat, not the helmet, but like the cap that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that would be enough. And then also most of them if this is very contemporary, I assume, the camouflage that they're wearing now is desert, and this feels a little more jungle. So I would do desert.
But we have to concede that we're not experts on, because we have not served in the military, as I'm aware.
We haven't,
right?
but I've looked at a lot of news footage.
Okay, so you're saying your observancy supersedes any expert on.
So I'm just saying, if this is a image for military people, then you can go as specific as you want. But if it's for regular people like me, you're going to have to go with some more iconic imagery. Okay, so there's that. One other thing too is maybe one of her bags is like a military like knapsack type of thing, rucksack. Something like that.
Does the military issue the baggage? Because I was thinking about the luggage too, and that really
I was
seemed
thinking
like
about
a vacation.
that big green duffel bag. Now Susie's going to pull rank on you, Jake, and she says now it depends on where you're stationed, because
Yes.
you could be stationed in other parts of the world, not just the desert, even though that's where we think of where the U.S. is right now.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions on this, though,
Mhm.
for content-wise. Do
Mhm.
you think it would be better? Now, it's very emotional the way that it's done right here, but do you think that it would be better if because it's like they both got home at the same time. And I'm wondering, what if the parents are like waiting by the door with anticipation? They've already done their hug. Does that ruin, or does that heighten the suspense?
I think it's good because you're going to put the emotional impact on the child, which when if I'm assuming this is for a kid's book, that's where you want it to be.
Yeah, right here it's like it's too much. It's two impacts, right? And so they're both having to divide between them two. So maybe, it could be this thing where he's just jumped off the bus and he sees her already. Um, he's like this and she's over here, you know, uh, bending down, like ready to give him a hug, and Dad's like, back here like, ha ha, welcome home, kid. Um, right, so it could be something like that. And what compositionally what that does is, see, right now we've got uh, interest right here, interest right here, interest right here, and I keep bouncing back between them. And because of this girl in the bus looking at him, I'm like, is she important? Is she a part of the story? I'm not sure. So if you make it all about this tension right here between him jumping out and her like having her arms open, then compositionally you can get rid of the interior of the house. You can even, if we go down here, I'll just do a little.
However, I'm going to disagree with you. And only on this. I think that who did this one again? Dan. I think that Dan created some amazing tension with that gesture of the little boy.
Okay.
And the anticipation of like he's not that happy right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he's
he
gonna
doesn't
be.
know this big thing's happening, and that's where I would bail on the door being open with them being visible, because that takes away the kind of the big surprise. And so I wonder if he couldn't be coming out, and they, like you said, they've already hugged. The parents already have shared their hellos, and now they're peeking through the window, and the kid doesn't see him yet, and then they're.
I think Jake's idea is good, really good. It would be, but it's an action piece, not an emotion piece as much.
Yeah. So maybe.
Right.
So maybe it comes down to one other problem I have is just the wall cut off of the side of the building.
Hmm.
It's kind of cool, but it's kind of also a little jarring just because.
I was
So
going to do the
maybe,
window too. Yep.
yeah, maybe you have a big window and you have them both like in there, like looking,
There you
and,
go. There
and
you go.
kids like walk in like this. Maybe do we want to see the bus? I'm not sure if we want
I
the.
don't think you need
The
to.
bus could be in the
He
distance.
could have walked home. I don't think
Yeah.
that matters. But
Yeah.
I think that the going through the window is definitely harder to do. And
Hmm.
and just as for everybody watching or listening, I would suggest if you're going to do that, draw the figures, the complete figure, and then put them in the inside the house.
Hmm.
If you try to draw that little space and try to cut them off and crop them, you're not going to be able to draw them in the right scale. You're not going to get the right
That's hard.
pose. But if you can do it on tracing paper, if you're working analog, and
Hmm.
two different pieces of tracing paper, and then move those characters to where they work right, you might have to use a scanner and reduce the size of them, enlarge the size of them if you drew them the wrong
Hmm.
size, and then print it out and move it around and then trace them where they go. That's really the only way. That's a tough illustration to do. It's easier to do with the cutaway like you did, but like Jake said, it's really hard to know what we're actually looking at, and that creates.
Yeah.
You're creating an assignment for your viewer to try to figure out what you did, and you don't want to do that. You want to
Like
make
a
things
puzzle.
easy. Yeah, like a puzzle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's tricky.
All right.
Awesome.
Good one. Good one though.
Did we open up more questions and answers on that?
Well, like I said, the ones that are really good, they
There's so
give
many
you,
ways to do
they
it.
give you a lot of options. So that's the thing. Okay, so we
Mhm.
got one last one from Lee, and then we'll announce our winners, the 3 winners. And
Does this meeting close at the hour mark, or can we?
I think it keeps going. It better.
Okay.
I think it keeps
All
going.
right.
All right, so this was the next one. This one is Carrie Bowden. Really beautiful little image. It's always nice to see one like this that just has a few little bitty tweaks, and it's done in my opinion. I think the media is handled really well. I love that the boy is off center. All the design shapes are really nice, and she set up a really nice little moment that we have. Let me pick a different color. We've got this repetition happening. There's a couple things I'll say about that, but it's always nice to have the repetition and then change one little thing about it. And
Yeah.
I actually have an assignment in school that I give my beginning design students to do that, to create a pattern and then break the pattern.
Mm.
It always yields really engaging imagery, and I think that was done really well here. The one thing, so the media is handled really consistently too. It all looks like it's all part of the same world, and pretty confidently done. The one thing that I would add is this moment right here. So we've got this, the idea of this thing is this kid's fishing and he's actually sitting on the turtle. It reminds me of like a Miyazaki film, Spirited Away, this kind of magical thing, and this would be the starting of the adventure. So if you think what's going to happen next, the turtle's going to get hooked on this barb. Probably not going to be a great friendship that's going to happen between these two.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and we talked about this earlier when we looked at these. The style is really nice.
Uh-huh.
The drawing is really
Yeah.
kind of nice and fun, and it's got that real calm children's book feel. But then, like you mentioned, Lee, what's going to happen is it's going to take us into the next page, which is not really children's book world, probably, right?
right. Yeah, I
Because,
mean, there's just not very many places that we can go.
right.
So, in my opinion, I would just get rid of the whole fishing element. I mean, kids hang out in anywhere there's water. Kids and dogs love it, and they could do anything. You know, he's there just reading his comic book or whatever. I just get rid of the whole fishing element and have this thing, come into life.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs that
It's so
fishing
much more
element.
magical like
And
that.
then Jake had a great idea earlier. Is setting up the relationship between the two. Oops. And having the turtle kind of acknowledge the boy that he's sat on him. It's a really nice little moment here. And like I said, it's a great kind of postcard to send, because you can get an editor saying, what happens next? And that's a really powerful moment
yeah.
when you send work, is what's going to happen next, and what happened. There's two moments. It's what happened right before a scene is showed, or what happened right after the scene you're depicting. And those are really powerful things. And if somebody can, when they see your image that prompts those questions, they're going to look at your website, which is typically the goal on a promo or something like that. So that's what I would do definitely here. Now, the one thing about composition that I would say is these are all, if I make a new layer, and I'll just make a line here. If I move this around, look at the size of the Rockies on here. It's a little smaller there, but in perspective, that rock's probably the same size. And so we've got a little bit too much repetition. So you may want to just take some of them and let's go a little darker there. I don't know, maybe have some bigger rocks over here on the side, and just to break up some of that that consistent.
You probably put a rock in the foreground too somewhere.
I love that. That'd be nice, because
Maybe
it'll start to set up.
Maybe even on the left side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was, so come in, come down, go bigger. See, that's what happens when you get too tricky with your brushes. They lag like that.
Oh man.
We need to get you that solid state drive.
This computer is so old. So you can really start playing, actually, like even like this thing maybe coming off of that rock. Come on, computer. There we go.
Awesome.
So anyway, so now we've got a foreground element. Now, everything you add, you got to question, where is it going and what's it doing? Like right now, you got to watch out that you don't make something that's perfectly in line with his head, and then you
Right.
start to kill it as well. And so each thing you add, you just start to go around and say, okay, does that work, or what do I need to change? But fantastic storytelling. Like I said, this one I would probably recommend that Carrie make 2 or 3 more, maybe from the story that develops here, like what happens to these two, and then send them in.
Hmm.
Can I say one more thing that I love is that red to yellow to green stripe on the neck of the turtle. That just gives it like a lot of personality. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And it connects the turtle to the boy, because he's wearing a red shirt.
Yep.
Turtle's got some red down there, so that's cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah, great
Okay,
work.
great. So I had put our next month's prompt, our June prompt, in the chat, but if you didn't get it, I'll read it so it's on the audio. Amanda was so excited for her first breakfast at the cottage until I can't even read my own prompt. Let me try again. Amanda was so excited for her first breakfast at the cottage until ... Okay, so Jake's thinking about that prompt. He's like, why don't you let me write that? He's like, I hate that prompt. Well, guess what, Jake? You didn't volunteer to write it, so you get to write July's, okay?
I'll do July's.
So we'll put that on our website. We'll also put this video there. And the winners, oh, we got to announce the winners. Sorry about that. So the winners are Abigail and William Baguette, Dan Travis, and Ryan Sutherland. You guys all qualify for the $30 in-store credit. Email Aaron at email Aaron at svslearninfo@gmail.com. Let me put that in the chat here. svslearninfo@gmail.com. And again, send it to Aaron, and he will tell you how to use that. So, thanks a lot, guys, and thanks a lot, everybody, for your participation. Thanks for coming. If you didn't send anything in, that's awesome too. We love people to come in and learn what we do in our live classes. When we do have live classes, we haven't had as many lately, but we plan to have more in the future. We also plan to have more critiques, and those will be announced pretty soon. We're trying to do a lot of upgrades to our website right now. There's a lot of exciting things that we have planned for 2015.
What year are you
Go back.
living in?
Is it 2015? You guys should be doing this job. You elected me.
I want to say, can I add something too, Will?
Yeah.
So this video will be posted on YouTube. So
Yeah.
Those of you who got a critique tonight, you have it for now and forever.
Yeah, until YouTube goes defunct, right?
Going back to MySpace.
Yep.
So,
All
right, guys.
Anyways, we'll see you guys next month.
Yeah, see you next month, and
Bye.
looking forward to some more good stuff. Great stuff. Good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.